Hello and welcome to today's Industry Solutions webinar. My name is Lisa Stewart and I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator at 12D Solutions. Our Industry Solutions webinars are designed to provide insights into overcoming challenges in an evolving industry in more effective and efficient ways. We'll keep running these webinars regularly and recording them for posting on our YouTube channels with links through our website. Our first 42 webinars from this Industry Solutions series, as well as the 46 webinars from our training series, are available online if you missed those. During this live presentation, you'll be able to type your questions along the way, as shown on the screen, and we'll answer as many as possible throughout the webinar. At the end, I'll also read out some of your questions to the presenter if there's time. Joining me on this webinar today will be Dan Pooley from Total Synergy. Dan is a Customer Success Manager. In this webinar, we'll clear the air between the two synergies. We'll give you a very brief overview of 12D Synergy. We'll introduce the 12D Synergy Total Synergy Connector. And afterwards, I'll hand over to Dan. He'll run you through a special presentation of Total Synergy. He'll show you what a project looks like in Synergy and showcase a range of features such as project work breakdown structure, managing phases, stages and tasks, project budgets, governing your work breakdown, timesheets and invoices, contacts, an introduction to forecasting and resource planning, which we'll be launching soon, a summary of what else Synergy offers, and Dan will finally show you how to sign up for a free trial. As many of you are aware, 12D Synergy is an advanced data management system for the architecture, engineering and construction industries. The system takes care of 12D Model, CAD, and other products such as XP Swim and 2Flow, to name a few. It's also a rock-solid document management and control system with Outlook integration for email management. It's all about making an efficient, collaborative environment for engineering, surveying, and architecture. 12D Synergy offers you a single source of truth with remote access, which is why we have many customers adopting it to enable them to work share between offices, homes, and out in the field. But what about for all these other areas that 12D Synergy doesn't manage? We're always looking for ways to improve our products, and customer feedback is the main driving force behind that. A feature that has come about from this are our connectors. The Connector API allows you to connect 12D Synergy to your business's other software products. The idea is that you can automatically import information stored in other products into 12D Synergy, saving you time and reducing errors. In the past, we have developed connectors for AppTrack, Microsoft Dynamics, SharePoint, MYOB, and Workflow Max. And now today, we're announcing the Total Synergy Connector. You can learn more about all of these on our website, www.12dsynergy.com. So the Total Synergy Connector. Customers were telling us how there seems to be an overlap of data inputs into 12D Synergy and Total Synergy. As we preach the single source of truth, duplicate data input went against our beliefs. We reached out to the Total Synergy team, who loved the idea of an integration between the two products. So what can you achieve with the 12D Synergy Total Synergy Connector? You can do things like automatically import information from Total Synergy to generate jobs, folder structures, and associated tasks inside 12D Synergy, and import project contacts from Total Synergy to 12D Synergy. And you can import Total Synergy project information like contacts, project details, attributes, and other custom fields. Now I'll hand over to Dan, who will provide us with a special presentation on Total Synergy. Over to you, Dan.
Lisa, thank you so much for the opportunity to jump on in here and have a chat with you guys today about what Total Synergy brings to the table in terms of 12D Synergy. As you very accurately put, my name is Dan, and I'm the customer success leader here in the Asia Pac region. I look after the customer success and support teams in our region, and I'm pretty excited today to show you what we have on offer that will really complement your workflows with 12D Synergy and show some really nice collaborative abilities between the two pieces of software. So what is Synergy? In a nutshell, Synergy is a pure cloud software. It doesn't rely on any local hardware, which is really nice. And it's designed for the AEC industry and AEC professionals specifically. All of our customers are architects, engineers, surveyors, and the like. So we don't build features for the grand unwashed masses of the consulting industry, we focus very specifically on you guys, which is nice. So you can rest assured that every new product that we provide and every new feature that we build is specifically targeted at what you guys are trying to achieve with your project delivery. So for us, it's all about more time for design. If we can take admin hassles out of the equation, if we can help you with speeding up your invoicing or your project management or your task delivery or your collaboration, that's our job done and more time back to you for design. Today we're going to be looking through a number of different things as Lisa sort of illustrated. The first thing that we're going to be doing is creating a project in Synergy, and then we're going to look through a compressed project lifecycle. We're going to add some timesheets and some bills to that project. We're going to throw in an invoice or two. We're going to have a really light touch on our reporting modules. We're going to have a look at some contacts. And then we're going to jump into a brand new feature called forecasting and resource planning for our business product. It's a brand new feature, and you guys are the first to see this out in the wild. It's launching very, very shortly, and I'm very excited to present that to you at the end of the session today. So without further ado, let's jump on in. I'm hoping you can see my screen at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new project in Synergy. This is our Synergy dashboard. We've got a whole bunch of dashboard widgets to keep you up to date with what's happening with your projects and their health within Synergy. You can see your tasks, and it's something we'll come to in a little bit of time. To create a project, it's as easy as opening up a create project, deciding what you want to call your project. In this case, we're going to do a small residential structural engineering project. So we'll wait for this little demo account to pop on up here. The project I'm going to call the address of my my particular project location. I'm going to set it at a proposal status because we still need to go out and win this particular job. It's going to be a residential type project, and you'll see as I'm filling out all of these attributes can be shared directly across to 12D Synergy, which is really nice. We also have a bunch of different rate groups you can choose from, and you can customize these yourself. So you can jump on in and you can have different rate groups for different client types, or have different rates you charge for your private or your government contracts. We have a scope of work section, which will automatically populate onto a proposal document that you can create from Synergy. So in here, I will type in something to be more eloquently outlined a little later, just a bit of a placeholder. And then also from a work breakdown perspective, we have the ability to create custom work breakdown templates. If you find yourself doing the same job time and time again and constantly tasking out and writing out the same tasks and the same stages and the same phases, this gives you a really nice way to apply that common use structure to any new project that you hear about. In this case, we'll choose our engineering template. We'll move forward. Next on up, we're going to choose a primary contact for this particular job. Adrian is the man, and I'm going to use our autofill to automatically fill the details for the address. You can also use longitude and latitude if you're working on a site that hasn't yet been zoned or isn't available in common mapping tools, which is kind of cool. From a project numbering perspective, something that's quite important, we allow for custom project numbers on every project, or you can automatically apply your own prefix and numbering sequence. In Synergy will take the weight out of needing to remember what number's next for you, and it'll just automatically apply the next one. In this case, project number 1. As we save this project, Synergy is doing some really interesting things in the background. It's adding this project to Adrian as a project opportunity. It's automatically building our project work breakdown in the background, and it's also shoring up templates and our rate structures for this project so that we can charge the correct rates for the project based around the rate group that we've selected, and we can also use document templates relevant to the documents we may need to send out our clients, things, for example, like proposal documents, project letters, or invoices. Let me jump in here, and I'll add a couple of additional project contacts. Synergy houses quite a robust contact management system that allows you to manage companies, personnel within those companies, or individual contacts maybe on more of a residential basis. So in this case, I'm going to add my Adventure Park Playgrounds as a new project contact, and Dean from that particular location, and he will be a consultant on this particular job. So I'll save him on in there. And quite commonly, pardon me, quite commonly you might also see an architect on a job as a care of contact. So in this case, we'll get Beverly involved. She will be our care of contact, and she will take the role of architect on this particular job, and we can save. So it's easy to add a project team together like this in terms of your external contacts or indeed your internal contacts. So adding your staff in is much the same workflow. Once you've got your project team down pat, it's time to have a look at your work breakdown and start working out what you're going to be charging for this project. Because we've used a work breakdown template, we have a number of different stages within our project with a number of different tasks, so we can start working on a budget pretty much automatically, which is kind of nice. The work breakdown begins with the proposal stage, which is where you'd log all of your time to win this job, preparing proposal documents and things like that. And you can see here, this particular stage is a no billing stage, meaning that any work that gets placed on this particular stage is automatically written off, but you can still track the costs on it. So you can still see the holistic project health based around all of the costs that have been applied to the project, and then all of the billing that goes on to recoup those particular costs. As we go down the list, we have fixed fee and hourly rate stages in the same work breakdown. And under each of these particular stages, you've got different tasks that allow you to take these tasks, mark a measure of completedness when people are working on them, start timers for the tasks to measure time, and assign them to individuals. I'm going to assign a couple of tasks to myself here. There we go. So that we can see them on the dashboard. And I'm going to give them the next couple of days from a due date perspective. Might be cheeky and give myself a Sunday task there as well. So now that I have a couple of tasks, that's great. People can start working on this job, but what are we going to be charging for it? The next module that I'm pretty excited to show you guys is budgeting. Budgeting lets you work out from the rates that you're charging on the job and the people that are going to be doing the work, what sort of budget you need to put together for the job and then what you should be charging for it. Or if you've agreed to a fee cap for your particular job already, how you can back calculate based around the charge out rates that you charge to work out how you can profitably deliver that particular project. I'm going to flick over to our budget screen here. Again, it's another way to look at the work breakdown. So we're seeing the same stages and the same tasks, but now these particular tasks that I've assigned to myself, you can see I have a budget rate just here of director. That's my primary rate as my staff member that's logged in at the moment. For a design on my schematic design stage, I might need 16 hours. For my CAD drawings, I might need 18, and for my specifications, another 10. So you can see, based around the hourly rate, you're getting a total that's winding up to give you a stage-wide budget that is completely separate for your fee cap. So if you know, based around the marketplace, that for a schematic design stage in this kind of a project, you can charge $15,000, but you can comfortably deliver this project for $11,000 worth of budget, you're in a pretty good place. Conversely, you can also see little potholes as they appear in the future of your project where maybe you have to budget a little bit of extra time and go a little bit over your fee cap, which you can then recoup in concurrent stages of that particular project. So that's a little bit about how budgeting works within Synergy. It's pretty easy to execute, but also really powerful in the way that it allows you to measure the progress and then obviously the financial health of your particular projects. I'm going to save this guy out now, and we're going to move on to adding a couple of transactions to this project. The transaction side of things is pretty important. It's how we measure the profitability of projects based around timesheets and bills and expenses. First thing that I'll need to do, assuming that this project has moved forward and gone ahead successfully, is I will need to jump into my view and edit section for my work breakdown and move my project from a proposal status to an active status. Project statuses is another feature that we developed to enable the easy curation of what people can and can't do on certain stages within a particular project. So if I change the status here, you'll notice on the right-hand side, I have some status categories. When a project is in a proposal stage, you can add time to it and you can edit things, you can delete stages and you can malleably move things around, but you can't send an invoice out because the idea of a proposal stage is that the client hasn't yet agreed to it. Once you move to an active stage, it limits the ability to delete certain things because often they have been contractually obliged. It allows you to invoice and it allows you to add timesheets. If we were to move to an unsuccessful or complete stage, you can't add timesheets for this project, you can't invoice it, it locks it away so that you can't accidentally send invoices or add timesheets to the wrong things, which is kind of nice. I'll move it to the entire project here to an active status, and then we can move on to adding some transactions to this particular project. I'm going to jump onto my dashboard now, and I'm going to simulate what a standard user of Synergy might see when they log in for a particular day. the director of this particular project or the project manager has assigned me as a user a couple of tasks. So in the first box here, you can see I have those 3 tasks that were assigned to me on the work breakdown, and they've got these due dates here as well. I can filter my task list by different options so that I can see different tasks in different statuses. For this design task, if I start working on it straight away, I can press this little play button, and it's going to start clocking up time. It's going to enable me to remember to put time in my timesheet for this job in the future, which is kind of handy. You can also add time to a project, maybe if you've forgotten to do it in the past, with this little 3 dots on the side of a task here. I can add maybe 2 hours to this task, and it'll add 2 hours straight into that timer, ready for me to do my timesheet. And from the specification side, I might add an hour in there. I'll stop this timer, and now we'll jump into my timesheets, and we'll see the impact of what that little bit of work has done to my particular timesheet. Timesheets are accessible in the top right-hand corner here. And we've built out a nice, easy to understand, intuitive UI so that anyone can pick up timesheets and enter them pretty easy with minimal training or onboarding, which is nice from a company training perspective. You can see here that down the bottom, I've got my timers, 2 hours, 1 hour, and a quarter of an hour. If I click those timers, they automatically get added into my timesheet. At this stage, my timesheet is malleable, so I can jump in and I can change my hours, add things around and change things around if I'd like, which I'll do here. And then I can, if I needed to, add additional timesheet lines that maybe I forgot to add throughout the process of my job. So I'll go in here and I'll add another timesheet in here. Very good. And then I'll hit save. Now, throughout the course of doing some of these particular tasks, I also incurred some expenses. So on the very same screen that you're adding in your time, you can also switch to adding in your cash expenses or your travel expenses for your particular jobs, keeping track of those and making sure that you on-charge them or at least include them in your budget consumption for your projects. This gives you a much, much clearer understanding of your project health and where you're at in terms of your budgets. I'll add a couple of cash expense lines in here. I can choose a stage that I want to add the cash expense line to in my project. I can choose the cash expense type. In this case, it was maybe travel expense. The rate is going to be miscellaneous, and it was a cab to a site. And I'm going to throw in a cheeky receipt number in there so that admin can find it. Put in the amount of dollars and save it. I've got a bit of an ecosystem situation happening here where 12D Synergy is getting all of your project information so that you can control all of your documents. Synergy is looking after the project accounting, but then this expense line also belongs in your accounting package. So we also integrate with MYOB, QuickBooks Online, and Xero, and your expenses, your invoices, and your subcontracting bills all end up in your accounting package using a connector as well. So you've got this situation where you're cutting down admin time left, right, and center based around the fact that a lot of these solutions are integrated in the cloud. I'll save my cash expense there, move on, and I'll put in a travel expense. Travel expenses work in much a similar way, but in this case, I'll put one on tendering here. They work as different rates than a cash expense. So in this case, it was another travel expense, but the rate was mileage rate. So I drove my own vehicle to a site inspection, perhaps, and I drove on Tuesday 27 kilometers. And that's the reimbursable per kilometer. That'll also end up in your accounting package and end up as a cost. And if you have it on the correct stage type, as a chargeable value on your projects. So it's all tied up in a really nice bow based around all of the information your staff are entering in these 3 columns. So that's the timesheets, cash expenses, and travel expenses side of things. There's 2 other transaction types within Synergy. Those are office expenses, which I won't demonstrate today. Things like admin fees or printing charges, things like that, map download fees. And then there's also subcontracting bills or bills in general. Any bill that you receive for any work that you've subcontracted or that you have done on a particular project can also be entered into Synergy, and those bills also end up in your accounting package for payment, which is nice and handy. I'm going to add in a bill here. My bill contact who sent me this bill was ABC Constructions. Here's my bill number. And now I'm going to start adding in the line items of this particular bill. So the bill was a bit of photography that I had done for a project. The expense type in here is going to be contractors. This was a single day rate for photography, and they charged me $1,500. And then they added another line onto their bill, and it was 3 photo retouches. So you have 3 units in there at a cost of $16 per photo. That's some cheap photo retouching. So now we've got a bill in Synergy, and that's going to end up in our accounting package, so it's only a single source of data entry. But next we need to tell Synergy which projects this bill is applicable for. So we can disperse this work onto one or multiple projects so that this particular bill ends up in the right place. Say this 1 day of photography was actually across 2 projects. It was across our 321 Kent project, and it was on the schematic design stage. The rate was, let's go with architect, and we had a half unit, or a half of the day rate is going to be dispersed onto that particular stage on that project. I can pick another job, another stage, same or different rate, and put the rest of that line item onto a different stage. So you have a really easy way of taking those bills and throwing them into projects as costs. Often you might work with a subcontractor who will work across a number of different projects. So we've made it really easy to disperse that single bill across multiple projects there as well. I'll quickly disperse this final line across my schematic design stage for my photo retouching. Put the 3 units there, and I will save this particular bill. I need an expense type. Of course I do. Contractors. There we go. So that's transactions. We've got a number of transactions in our project now. So without further ado, we'll go in and we'll spin out an invoice based around our customizable invoice templates. Back into our project. We'll go back to 321 Kent. Now that we have a number of different transaction line items on this particular project, it gives us enough to simulate creating an invoice. The cool thing about invoices within Synergy is that you can use the same invoice from the same project work breakdown structure to action all of your different stages and fee types from a single project. So we're in the project context now. You can see the project details down the bottom, any tasks that you have as an individual on this project. And then at the top, we can jump into our invoices tab on this project, and we can generate an invoice. Now, if I try to generate an invoice at a project which was at the proposal status, it wouldn't let me. It would say, hold your horses, you need to actually have this project properly approved first, or you need to adjust the status because maybe it has been and you forgot to adjust the status itself. Synergy, knowing all about the timesheets and the bills within the background, is going to automatically assume a couple of things about our particular project here. You can see from my schematic design stage, I have all of these different WIP values, so I can choose, if I'd like to charge, say, $4,661 for this particular. But I don't have enough residual because I haven't put a fee in for that stage, so I can't invoice any of it actually, interestingly enough. Quickly jump back into my project, and I'll put a fee cap in for that stage so that we can start sending out some invoices. There we go. So I've got some hourly rates down here. I've got my invoice out already. So what I'll do is I'll quickly delete this draft invoice so that I can change things around, and then I'll add some fees to this project. Thank you. A nice thing about Synergy is that if your project is going a little off left center, and perhaps you've missed a step or you've done something, it really controls what you're able to do. In this case, I haven't added in any fees, so Synergy's going, hold your horses, Dan. You're going to need to add in fees before you do any invoicing. There we go. Now I can start adding in some fees. So there's my $15,000 fee for my schematic design development. Let's put in $11,000 there as well. And then I'll save that on, regenerate my invoice. Very good. So now we're at our invoicing screen. You can see we've got a couple of bits of information on this particular screen. We've got the invoicing contact and the attention contact. You can see that they're the same person at the moment. We can edit these if we wish from the contacts that we've entered into Synergy. You've got the invoice date, which you can also change, as well as the from and to date. The from and to date is the two dates, the two lines in the sand in which Synergy is going to collect transactions for this particular invoice. Down the bottom, for this particular period, you can see all of our WIP value. So the value of work that we can charge for this particular period based around all of the work that's been done. We've got the invoice percentage. So we're doing a percentage claim here. And at the moment, Synergy, based around our WIP, is assuming we are 31.08% of the way through this particular stage. Now, that might not be true. We might be 50% of the way through the stage, which will automatically change what you're invoicing, but it won't change your WIP value. What it will do is it'll add another metric to all of these transactions called an invoiced value. So for all of this time that's been added by me in this case, you have a value and an invoice value, and you can see the markup at a transaction by transaction level. It allows you to do some really beautiful and interesting things when it comes to staff proficiency reporting or commonalities with different types of tasks or different types of bills that are often increased in value or decreased in value that impact the business bottom line. Down here, you can also see that we have an hourly rate stage on the same invoice. This hourly rate stage is made up of a number of transactions, 2 of them here, that we're going to be charging out to our client. If we wanted to, you can also adjust the units on the particular invoice here as well. So we're going to charge for 4 of the 5 director hours on that particular line, and we're going to charge for 2 additional mileage hours on that top line there. This is adjusting the invoice units, but not the transaction units. So again, you can see the difference between what you were meant to charge and what you did charge, allowing you to report on all of that project financial juiciness in the future. Now that I've got all these details sorted, I can save my draft, have a look at the draft invoice that's based around the template, but your templates and your Synergy instances are going to look a little bit different because you can build these templates from scratch using all sorts of custom text, bookmarks, and table bookmarks so that they look exactly as you'd want them to, even down to the level of using custom fonts. And here's an example of our invoice. So we'll open up the preview here. You can see we've got the invoice, we've got the invoice as it could indeed be sent to our client. It's quite a simple invoice here. We've got the schematic design stage being billed. We've got the hourly rate stages there. We can also include, if we wanted to, a different layout for an invoice. So you can have multiple invoice layouts within Synergy. I'm going to choose an invoice with a transaction table in this case. And the invoice with the transaction table does a couple of really nice things. It allows you to show a blow-by-blow, transaction-by-transaction list of all of the transactions that account to the summary at the top of your invoice, which is really nice. Shows on the second page of the invoice. So now that we have this particular invoice, I'm going to save and finalize the invoice itself, mark this invoice as paid, and then we're going to jump in and have a little bit of a look at some of the reporting capacities within Synergy. This invoice is owing this much, note, paid, save, and now our invoice is paid. A really cool thing about the integration with the accounting packages as well is that if you mark an invoice as paid in your MYOB, QuickBooks Online, or Xero instance, it'll also automatically throw that and tell Synergy that it was paid as well, so you don't have to come in and mark all of your invoices paid in 2 locations. Very nice and handy. All right, reporting. Jumping on into reports in Synergy, reports are very loosely broken down into 2 halves within Synergy. The first half is a list of all sorts of reports that our consulting team have built up for the industry, things that are relevant to engineers or architects or surveyors that make sense to all of the information that Synergy is capturing, whether that's contact lists or invoicing data note reports, project performance reports, stage breakdown performance reports, you name it, it'll be in this list. If it isn't, however, we also have, which is the second part of our reporting module, a custom report either changer or builder. Take, for example, our project performance report here. I can run that project performance report and take off some filters and run the report and get some great information back. But say if I was an organization that wasn't using budgets, so these columns here weren't relevant to me, what I can do is I can grab, copy and customize this report. Within the report builder itself, I can take this budget used out and budget remaining out. I can move my WIP value to the front of the list. I can add in additional filters. I can add in additional columns into this report to give me a specific and very, very targeted and useful report for my specific use case or the important business decisions that I want to answer myself. Once I rename, save, and share that, this report is then accessible to my team as a bespoke report that gives us what we need to do our business efficiently. Really nice part of Synergy, and all of the information that you're putting into Synergy is reportable upon, whether that's in a project context, on a transaction context, on a contact context. Depending on the report type you choose, you get different outcomes and different abilities to use different columns to answer the questions that you're looking to answer with your reporting. So that's reporting in Synergy. Now, we're going to jump into a never before seen feature in Synergy, our forecasting feature, and it's a preview feature. It's going to be out in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be in a preview status, which means it's sort of still in an early beta phase that will enable you all to get your hands on and try it out, and give us some feedback so that if there is anything that needs to be done on it, we can make it better. And this is what forecasting will look like in Synergy. Here I've got a company context. You can see I'm in the same sort of Synergy experience as you've experienced in the past. There's a new forecasting menu in the menu here. And then I have this scrollable graphic interface that allows me to see lines for all of my projects. And down the bottom, a graph that allows me to see all of my projects and how they stack up from a baseline revenue perspective. So you can see different things maybe when you're over or under in terms of your target revenue figures. Or indeed, it allows you to see different things where perhaps you might have certain resource allocation assumed by Synergy based around all the information it knows about your staff at a certain level. You can see here when you scroll around, you've got the ability to take projects, say this 321 Kent project at the top, and you can change things when they're in a forecasting status. You can change the amount that you're forecasting to. So maybe I find out that this project maybe was a little more lucrative than I thought. I can save that. And down the bottom, it'll automatically save your graph and update what's happening in this section here. So you'll see that now we have a situation where we're above target revenue for the period of January, but as soon as we flip into February, we're slightly below our target revenue. Target revenue is made up by your financial controls and settings that you set up when you sign up with Synergy. With this drop down here, I can also see different standard rate groups for my company, and I can see whether those rate groups are going to be over capacity or under capacity at a certain time based around my project forecast. Take, for example, my professional rate group here. I can see that in the month of January, I'm over capacity slightly for my professionals, but then as soon as we flip into February, I'm a little under capacity. So I could put a little bit more in there and my professionals will be able to handle it. It's a really nice way to see the future based around the information you're popping into Synergy, and it's very malleable. Say you find out that this project here, $70,000 project, was actually going to be delayed by a month. You can simply pick it up, drag the ends, and move things around in the user interface to change the dates. It's really, really nice and easy. This tool is particularly built for planning meetings where you're looking at resourcing for the coming quarter or the coming year, looking at work that's coming in and working out whether you need to go out and make some rain or whether you need to go out and hire some more employees to deal with all of the stuff that you have in your forecast already. And that's a bit of a touch on forecast. Please, if you have any questions, shoot them through on the webinar chat, and we can try and field those at the end of the session. The final thing that I wanted to show you is how to sign up for a Synergy trial. If any of you have pen and paper in hand or have a computer open, type into a new tab in your web browser, www.totalsynergy, totalsynergy.com/12D, 12D hyphen synergy, synergy, and press enter. That'll take you to this page here. This is a special page that we've built to help orient you with some of the things that 12D Synergy and Synergy are doing in collaboration, as well as this link here, which allows you to sign up for a special 30-day free trial of our software, which will allow you to play with all of the features that we have on offer for 30 days for free. So definitely, if you get the chance today, jump in, grab that trial, have a bit of a play around. As soon as you're in your trial, it also unlocks your ability to chat with our customer success team. When you're in a trial state, we offer 4 complimentary sessions to help you understand Synergy, upskill your team, get your data into Synergy, and start rocking along with Synergy with success, which is kind of cool. So definitely, if you haven't already, jump in, start a trial, check out what we're all about, and that pretty much is all that I have for you guys today. So thank you so much for the incredible amount of time that you've spared. We very, very clearly understand the value of the time that you've spent with us today. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to hand back to Lisa, and we can round things up.
Thanks for that, Dan. We've had a couple of questions through from the audience, so I'll just pop these through to you. So Philip in New South Wales has said, you mentioned it's cloud-based. Is there an option to host our own data?
Really good question. So at this stage, we have just the cloud-based options, but we are looking into the future into ways of joining your local servers with the cloud. That being said, Synergy is best for really light collaborative documents like your invoices, your proposal documents, collaborative chats in our portals. So what we do offer in terms of the cloud storage is quite well suited to the way that Synergy works.
Thanks, Dan. And Dion in New Zealand has said, can you report a running invoice total against budget for each component of work?
You absolutely can. So that's actually in one of our standard reports. The best way to view it would probably be in a stage performance report. So you can see stage by stage as a project is going on, your budget against what you've invoiced. You might even want to include WIP on there, work that hasn't been invoiced but that has been done on that project, to get a really, really accurate view of where you're at in terms of your budget consumption.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just take one more of these live for today. So John in Brisbane asks, can Synergy invoice both fixed fee and time and materials within one invoice?
Really, really good question. So the answer to that one is yes. We've built Synergy knowing the complexity of the engineering and architecture industries, and that often you'll have fixed fee projects with a hourly rates based disbursement stage, or you might have fixed fee projects with an hourly rates variation stage, or you might even have projects with a mix of fixed fee stages and hourly rate stages. So we've built Synergy to be able to compile all of that information automatically into our invoice templates to make it really, really quick to spin out invoices with mixed billing types.
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to just read out one more of these because it's just come through now and it's a good question. So David has asked, is there an approval process for timesheets? So can managers sign off and then directors sign off again after that? So stages of approval, I think.
Really good question. Not at this stage. We've been building practice management software for about 20 years or so, and Synergy is our foray into the pure cloud world. In the on-premise practice management software, we did have a feature for approval process, and we found that it was largely ignored or got in the way of a streamlined invoicing process. So we haven't built it yet into our cloud product. It is something that is on the roadmap, but at this stage, it's something that's not in there, with the exception of when you're doing an invoice, you can include or exclude different transaction lines, which will automatically remove them at an invoicing stage.
Well, thank you very much, Stan, and thanks to our audience for your great questions today. Sorry to anyone we didn't get to live, but we'll get back to you individually by email. And don't forget, of course, our 12D Technical Forum is on in Brisbane later this month. In fact, we'll be leaving Sydney in just over a week to get up there, which is a bit of a scary thought, but we're also very excited. Up there, we'll be showcasing the new 12D Model 14 and 12D Synergy 4, and much more. Please note at the moment that we're actually approaching capacity for the venues, so we're asking people to get their registrations in as soon as possible, because we're really just had a big flood of registrations in this last couple of weeks. The recording of today's webinar will be available on our 12D Model 12D Synergy YouTube channels in coming days. Our next Industry Solutions webinar will be 12D Technical Forum 2018, a review, on the 9th of August at 1 p.m. So register for that one now if you haven't already, and keep an eye on our emails and social media channels for more great upcoming topics in this and our training series. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you for attending, and we hope to see you at future webinars.